Okay, school board, hit it.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Okay, everybody, we're here for another meeting. We were just in exec session beforehand, reviewing some contracts. So at this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 7:09. Julie, would you do roll call, please?
Sure. Barbara Dayton.
Here.
Dave Conlon. Dave.
Here.
Tim Frazier.
I'm here.
Amy Rivera. She'll be with us in a moment. And Pat Brabant.
Here.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Julie. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance right now. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, everyone. We basically have two topics this evening. We do need to discuss some of our construction items, and we have Jim from BBS here with us, and then we'll be reviewing where we stand with things on COVID. So Jim, I know we need to talk about a number of things, the kindergarten playground, replacement windows, and we're still having an issue with that middle school roof, I hear.
Okay. So I guess starting with the playgrounds, I know we've had that identified as a project on the B list. John Longo has been working with the school to come up with a plan through a consultant that we use for designing the playground, similar to what we did for the building addition. So that's work that I guess once he's got final approval on the design, once we get, I guess, something back from the manufacturer that we can present, that will be something we'll share probably, I would imagine, the next, board meeting. Not quite sure where that stands in the hands of the consultant at this moment, but, John has informed me that it is something that is moving, there's been meetings on it, there's been discussions, there's been, the dialogue to come up with a layout that'll be functional for the use group of that area.
Right. Okay. And Deb, I know that the insurance company had been in touch with us about why we really need to jump on this, correct?
Correct. The insurance company has been very patient with us. We kept telling them that it was in the process, and now we're there. Mike indicates that there is money to do this playground, and it is a part of the B list. So my recommendation is to start the process. And that means, presenting the final drawings to you as well as the bid specs. Mike, you and Jim, you have the timelines on that, because we want to definitely put this playground in for a September start.
I don't have any timeline that locks that September date in yet. I'd have to find out from John. If it is something that needs to be reviewed by state education department, that's something we'd have to get the paperwork once we have the official approval to move forward with that. It is a playground structure. The state typically wants to see these sort of things since it involves the safety of the children. But for the most part, what we're designing is obviously to the current safety standards that we're responsible for. And if it was not to go to the state, you wouldn't receive state aid on that portion of the work. So
Jim, what are the next steps for the board? Do they have to take any kind of action since this was a B?
The next list would be to, I guess, officially accept it as from the B list, work being incurred under the current capital work, and then allocation of the funds, whether that be through the current bond money that's available, I mean, it would have to be done that way unless there was some other funding sources through donations that would be contributed towards that, so that we could identify specifically, the cost of the project and where, how much of it is coming out of the bond, how much of it is coming from another source. But that stuff I would work out with Mike. So as far as the board goes, it's really just a matter of, I guess, seeing the final plan, giving it the blessing to move forward for that design, and then, us getting, design documents prepared and ready for issuing to bidders. Whether we issue it to, through a regular open bid, or if we have to do it through like a county contract, might be the easier way of doing it. There are multiple playground contractors that we've used that are capable of doing this work. That might be the easiest route to take. But that's something we could, we can have discussions with how we want to bid it. Let's just get the drawings ready as soon as we can, get a presentation together that we can show the board, get the approval, and then, in the meantime, we'll keep working on our end to get things ready.
Okay.
What's the turnaround on getting feedback from the state in terms of approval for things at this time?
So that would be, at this point, they're at, I believe, 8 to 9 weeks or so for review of drawings once they get logged in and receive a review number. So,
Okay, that's.
and it is only it's a site-related project, so it's not like it goes through 2 reviews with architecture and engineering. Would just be picked up once.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully we'll get to see those final plans soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, John had drawn up some preliminary drawings about the playground, so I guess that would be your starting point.
Yeah, that information is, I guess, from the meetings that have taken place, has been shared with the company that we use to generate the actual pieces of the equipment. And we did under the current capital project, we had a rendering that showed, in color and context what the piece of equipment would look like. And we were able to, at least walk everybody through, the individual things so they could really see firsthand what everything's going to look like. So that's basically the same type of presentation that we would be developing for this.
Oh, okay. Does any of the board have any questions about playground? So I guess the other, we'll wait to hear from John on that and move forward with that then. And then there's the replacement windows, which is an issue of the moment, I guess.
Right. So for the windows, we had a meeting with the contractor today, although we've been on them since the day that the windows arrived as to when these windows were going to go in and what was holding things up. And we were a little concerned as to why, the windows have been there on site and nobody's pushing to put them in. I guess James Cohen, looked at the units that were shipped and found that there was, information on the boxes that indicated a certain size. We went back and looked at our drawings and shop drawings that were issued, and the things weren't matching up. And we weren't going to tell a contractor to proceed unless he was able to give us with 100% certainty the installation for each of those window openings in each classroom, that it would work without issue. So we asked for additional details, additional information. I'm not quite sure how the windows arrived on site without our official approval of the shop drawings. We were given a submission, probably in May, where we commented back to the contractor, you need to verify certain dimensions. We need to see additional details. But we never received a resubmission on those window units. They just showed up on site in the containers and were ready to go. But then
they're too big, right?
They're too tall for the window openings. I mean, the window openings, as a number, it's 5'8.5" inches typically. The window units that they shipped are 5'8 3/8. Now, anybody that does construction knows that you can't just shoehorn these type of windows into an opening and hope that they're going to work. Right. If there's any deflection, if there's any expansion, the windows are going to bind, they're going to have issues, they're going to have problems. So today was our, make or break with these guys as to what's going to go on. They offered up some suggestions that may allow them to use the windows that were there. A lot of it involves some additional, masonry work at the sill level to perhaps be able to increase the window opening by 2 inches, so they could put in some proper blocking and shimming to allow the windows to be installed properly. But the more we looked at it with them and brought up questions, they came to their own realization that the window units are incorrectly ordered and too tall, and they would have to ship them back and get new window units. So we've asked them that they need to come up with a restoration schedule for how it's going to put us back on a certain track for installation. Window fabrication time is about 4 weeks for these particular units. They're not overly complicated, but we still need to get from them, some information that we can put our approval on it, and then they can get them ordered. So the game plan is that we'll get on that, next week with the contractors, getting their information, and that probably during the spring break is the best opportunity that there would be in order to take the windows out and have them installed. We don't want to take anything out now. We offered up an option of doing a test case in one instance in the one classroom that's been kind of a subdivided, I guess, special use room. It's only like 3 window units. And we said, well, if you want to try, that's probably the only place we'll let you touch, but you have to get it, guarantee us that by the end of the Christmas break, that window will be back. That room will be back online for use. We can't leave any classrooms without windows if they're being occupied by the students. So I sensed there wasn't a lot of eagerness or confidence that it was going to work with, given the materials they have. So in the time frame, because it's only a week or so to do it, and they're not currently in any position to start doing it like tomorrow. So I think the best option that they came to realize is that, accept the fact that they ordered the wrong window units and get new windows on site, have them here so that come spring break, everything can just be ready to go, and it'll all be done in one option, in one setting, to take out the existing windows and then go back and install the new windows.
Okay, well, it's unfortunate there's a delay, but it certainly sounds like better to just get the correct windows rather than, mess around with the existing structure.
Yeah, we really, the more we looked at it, yes, there were certain viable options that they were presenting, but given the things that are kind of in place, whether it be bookcases, unit ventilators, there really was no availability to go any lower with the sill. So
Right.
It just wasn't going to work. So I don't know. They owned up to it. They're going to take care of it. There was no pushback on it. It was, somehow, some way, somebody just got the wrong information. And, he said, so we have a shop drawing process, and we've been asking you since like job meetings in August, what's going on? And you keep getting told, well, we're looking into it. We're taking care of it with this, with that.
Right.
But at least now, they're moving in a direction that's going to get it taken care of.
Okay, so no cost to us other than just time.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And if anybody's looking for a 3'9" by 5'8" tall window units, they might be real cheap now.
Yeah. And then the subject of the middle school roof came up, and apparently there's still leaking going on there, which had been a separate, neither an A nor B project, I believe. Is that correct?
Mhm.
That's correct, Barbara.
We've always had leaks in the one connecting area on this, I guess, the 6th grade wing, but now there's more leaks on over the junior high. And there's a lot of them in the junior high now, affecting almost every classroom down that way.
Mike, what my concern is this junior high roof was not on the radar. It wasn't in our last 5-year plan at all.
Right.
Right. We didn't generate the last 5-year plan. That was, I guess, in 2016. There was a report that was done. That was under the previous architect. We found whatever information he had, and, Deb's correct. There was no indication other than to state that it was currently under warranty. So a roof that's typically under warranty, any leaks or problems should be able to be addressed through the contractor and the roofing manufacturer.
Is that still under warranty?
No.
No, I guess by this
I don't
point
think
now
so.
it's, so now in the current, BCS, which we just did the walkthrough on,
You just froze, Jim.
Um,
Jim froze.
Okay.
Mike, you want to pick up?
The problem is with the roof, it's not on, like we said, it's not on the B list or anything, so it would have to be a project all unto itself. So we have to go through that, those pigeonholes, trying to figure out the best course of action on that. And honestly, we were talking with John Longo, and if we just do it without going through, we don't have to necessarily go through facilities planning unless we want aid. We could do this as a repair, and there's a mechanism where that grant money from the septic system, we could say, realistically, that grant paid for the septic system. In the meantime, we had used the capital reserve money to cover the cost of the septic system until we got the grant money. So in talking to bond counsel and our accountants, they thought it might be a wiser way to put that equivalent amount of money back into the capital reserve and then have a public hearing or a vote to bring the money down and use it to pay for this repair of these two roofs.
Mike, it would be a replace, would it not?
It would be replaced, but by going through similar to you do for a repair, you don't have to go through facilities planning.
All right, so there is still some sort of approval that has to happen because wasn't just
Yeah.
roofing in general on the new construction plan. So why does that have to have a separate?
Because it was never in the original scope of the capital project even on a B list item. So
But
it's a
wasn't
whole,
roofing itself on the scope of the project?
the one section of roof, yes, over the commons area and the fourth grade wing, that roof was done last
So-
summer.
Would this be the kind of thing like the next time we have a budget vote that we would need to have this?
We could put that in there, yep. I can investigate whether we could just do a simple public hearing
Right.
to allow the board to pull the money out of the reserve, which would
Okay.
save the cost of all of that,
Yeah,
having a public vote.
and also what about the time factor? I mean, if it's leaking a bunch now, when could it actually possibly get replaced or repaired?
you couldn't do anything until the summertime because
Okay,
could be asbestos involved, there's disruption and work
Right.
going on overhead. We wouldn't recommend roofing being done with the students in the classrooms.
And right now, as of this afternoon, we spoke with John Longo, and he suggested having somebody go up on the roof, cut some samples out to check to see if there's asbestos underlying, what the condition under the roof is, and those kinds of things. And, that's just through the general cost of testing that goes on every day on the capital project site anyway. We could ask, who's the EnviroScience to go and just take some test borings out of the roof.
so if there are active leaks right now, how are we addressing those?
We're going to try to find where they are and patch as much as we can for temporary purposes.
Okay.
But again, we're having a hard time getting our roofer out here to do the patchwork already that we need on those roofs to begin with. So we've got another call into him trying to say, where are you? What's taking, why can't you just get somebody out here? I know you were trying to dovetail it with replacing the roof over the portable. And I think that's what's been holding him up is the weather has not been conducive to allow him to do the major roof work on that portable building because he's going to try to do both at the same time. So I'm going to try to push him to get somebody out there to do the patchwork by itself.
Okay, so you'll get someone to get some samples of the rest of the roof and see what's on there.
Right.
And
And at
then,
the same time, get somebody to patch it.
okay. And does the planning for replacing this roof, does this have to go to state ed at all? Is that a kind of thing? Or,
That's, it depends. Like John Longo had said, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong on this, or if John's wrong, that if it's just, if we want aid on that roof project, we have to go through facilities planning. If we don't have to go through facilities planning.
what kind of aid amount are we talking about?
Our aid is so minimal. You're looking at 10% of anything that's considered aidable by the state. So they would look at the overall capital project and they say, X dollars of the capital, a $23 million project, only 80% of it is aidable. So you're only going to get 80% of the maximum aid. So you get basically 8% aid on whatever remaining projects you have going. It could be less. Depends on, I haven't seen any figures. Have you, Jim, seen any figures out of facilities planning on what the aidable space is on this building?
Well, for a repair project like that or replacement, it's aided a little bit differently than physical space. But if your max is 10%, that's all you'll ever achieve. And typically it's, a percent or two less, depending on the type of work.
Okay.
But I would agree with what John said. At this point, it's, you have the option of, moving forward, either way, it's going to be a separate project from the current capital work, just because we can't increase the funding to that project, even though there's money coming back in the grants. It just complicated for, state to reconcile that. So I would say that the path of least resistance to getting this done would be to just, declare the project that needs to be taken care of immediately, move forward with getting the testing done, field measurements, all that work that we did on that, the other roof section, similar stuff. And then put the project out for, public bid, which, we would always do. And, hopefully have contractor lined up for, May to mobilize or at least get, materials and things on site so that they could start the work come the last day of school. It's not a tremendous roof area. It's definitely something they can handle in, 2 months. To remove that deck down, the roofing down to the deck and put back, new insulation, do the fascias, do the roof drains, that sort of thing. So, at this point we're, I guess, in a decent position to start, pulling that together. But now's the time to do it.
Right. Okay. Anyone on the board have any questions about that? No. Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing would be your hearing as far as, the allocating the money or having you mentioned something about, having to have the money in the capital reserve.
Right. Okay. So a hearing we could actually do sooner rather than waiting for like something at voting time.
Yeah, we can do
There
it
you go.
right before a regular board meeting.
Right. Okay. All right. So I guess
We had,
hash that out.
we had originally given some dollar values as far as construction cost estimate, upwards of, I think, $900,000 for that work.
Right. I think it was 880 was the exact amount you had come up with.
Mhm. So that's what you're kind of looking at as far as, funds to take care of that work.
Okay. All right. So Mike will figure out how that's when we can get that scheduled then. Right.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll work with Jim and with John on that to try to get it squared away.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Board, anybody have any other questions for Jim while he's here?
Jim, is there a lot of snow sitting up there? Like, how is it like with the snow melt? And maybe Mike, you'd know that with the leaks. Is it more just a heavy rain from a few weeks ago?
No, it's a heavy rain from this last snowstorm, followed by the rain and all of it sitting up there. It just put a lot of water up there that just found its way in.
Yeah, what happens is some of these roof systems, when the seams start to let go, you may have weeks and weeks of prior rain and never see any leaks. But then you get a snow event where it puts additional, 3 pounds of weight on that roof and it starts to compress. And then the water that was trapped in the insulation, not necessarily dripping into the building, is now being kind of forced because now you're adding more water things get oversaturated, and then the water just has to, eventually migrate out, and it winds up, entering into the building. So it's,
Yeah.
for the roofer, it's a tough task to try to track down specifically where the leaks will be occurring, but 9% of the time he'll be, sealing all those seams on the roof right now. And, that should, take care of, I would say, 80% of your leaks, and maybe a couple more that crop up here and there. But yeah, at this point, if there's 2 or 3 inches of snow plus that ice that kind of got built, layered in, that, it's adding some weight to that roof right now. But when we do our test cores, we test for asbestos. We also want to see where is this, the area of oversaturation. That'll be something we'll discover as we start to, open up that roof in certain areas.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Yes, to you all too as well. Stay warm and dry, and enjoy a week or so off. Don't travel too far.
No. Thanks very much, Jim. Yeah, happy holidays, and we look forward to hearing from you in January.
Yeah, we'll add to the normal construction update with some of this information as an agenda item that we'll present.
Okay, sounds good. Great.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Very much. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Have a good evening.
Hey, Barbara, if I
uh,
may.
Yep.
May I test the phone lines, please?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Hello, school board. This is Matt from LTV. Can you hear me?
Hey, Matt. Yes, we can.
All right, perfect.
Do you have a question?
Thank you. I do not, but thank you
Okay.
anyway.
Sure. So next item on the agenda then is Deb going to our COVID update.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Oops.
Okay. Who was that?
Okay. That was the waiting line from the conference calling.
Okay.
That's
So
what
we're
we
good to
hear.
go, Matt?
Yes, absolutely. Please
Okay.
continue.
Okay, thank you. It was a nice introduction for a topic that is definitely been weighing on all of us. So I just want to give you first an update on testing in schools. I'm going to let Anna do this section right after I speak so that the Spanish-speaking community has the information as well. So as you've been following, the infection rate numbers in Suffolk County continue to rise. In response, the county is alternating their approach slightly to build capacity in more districts for testing. I have requested testing at Springs, but been told that we are doing well and don't qualify for testing at this time. When schools return from the holiday break, Suffolk County Department of Health will be looking to host testing in what they call watch districts for one day at each district to train staff and administer rapid testing. Our nurses have been trained. We do have a coordinator. I am that coordinator along with my secretary who will be inputting the data. Any district planning on partnering with the Suffolk County School Superintendents and the Suffolk County Department of Health for testing will be included in this. Districts will be notified if it applies to them with as much advance notice as possible. Sometimes it's a couple of days, but we're set to go. We even have a floor plan for our gym. Districts that are contracting with the labs for testing will not need to do anything until they're designated by the governor. This is not an opinion or an option for us because it's not free. The other is free. Insurance is required for this option, and a large number of our community do not have insurance. Anna? Go ahead.
Habla la señora Jacobs para informarles de los últimos acontecimientos acerca del virus de COVID. Como ya muchos de ustedes saben que los casos están aumentando mucho, la manera del condado de lidiar con este aumento en los casos del virus es que tienen planeado hacer más pruebas. Después de las vacaciones van a querer entrenar a personal y hacer más pruebas en distritos por un día, como para prevenir, que es verdad, el aumento de los casos. Por el momento nosotros no calificamos para participar porque no tenemos suficientes casos. Habría que esperar, porque si no, este proceso que quieren usar no es gratuito, tendría que tener usted seguro para poder participar. Entonces, por el momento estamos esperando, pero nosotros ya tenemos un plan en pie, ya se sabe de poder participar en este programa, ya se sabe cómo lo vamos a hacer, dónde lo vamos a hacer. Tenemos un plan de cómo llevarlo a cabo en el gimnasio de la escuela, y las enfermeras ya han sido entrenadas. Nada más hay que esperar a ver cuándo logramos calificar para participar.
Thanks, Anna. The holidays, big topic for all of us. The safest way to celebrate the winter holidays is at your home with the people you live with. Travel and gathering with family and friends who do not live with you can increase your chance of getting or spreading COVID-19 or even the flu. Celebrating virtually or with people you live with is the safest choice this winter. This is coming from the CDC. If you do gather with people who don't live with you, gathering and activities held outdoor are the safest and than indoor gatherings. Anna, I'll let you take that section and then we'll go into the travel.
Las fechas festivas, la mejor manera de celebrar las fechas festivas de este invierno es de celebrarlo ya sea con personas con las que usted vive o de manera virtual. Si se tiene que reunir con familiares o amistades con las que no vive, lo ideal sería hacerlo ya sea afuera o, ¿verdad?, o limitando el número de personas con las que se reúne. Pero la mejor manera es sí hacerlo virtualmente o con las personas con las que usted vive.
Thank you. Governor Cuomo has announced new guidelines allowing travelers to New York to test out of the mandatory 14-day quarantine. So currently, you have to quarantine for 14 days. If you have tested positive, someone in your house has tested positive, if you a test to come back, you should quarantine until that test comes back. Travelers from states that are contiguous to New York State are exempt from the travel advisory. However, covered travelers must continue to fill out the traveler's health form, which is on the Department of Health's website, New York State. Essential workers will continue to be exempt as well. The guidance also applies to international travel coming from any CDC level 2 or 3. There are even level 4s that this does not apply to. So it only applies to level 2 and 3. Health notice countries, the new protocols in effect as of November 4th. For any traveler to New York State coming from a contiguous state, U.S. territory, or CDC level 2 or 3, the new guidance for travelers to test out of the mandatory 14-day quarantine are as follows. For travelers who are out of state for more than 24 hours, travelers must obtain a test within 3 days of departure prior to arrival in New York. The traveler must, upon arrival in New York, quarantine for 3 days. On the 4th day of their quarantine, the traveler must obtain another COVID test. If both COVID tests come back negative, the traveler may exit quarantine early upon receipt of the second diagnostic test. For travelers who are out of state for less than 24 hours, the traveler need not test. However, the traveler must continue to fill out the paperwork upon entry into New York State and take a COVID test on the 4th day of their arrival. Local health departments will validate the test if necessary, and if a test comes back positive, will issue an isolation order and initiate contact tracing. The local Department of Health must make contact with the state the traveler came from to ensure the contact tracing proceeds as well. All travelers must continue to fill out the forms upon arrival to New York State to contribute to the New York State's contact tracing. The spring school will abide by the CDC guidelines and strictly enforce if they hear of any staff member or child or family that have traveled, not allow them to return until we have these 2 negative tests. Anna, and then we'll take some questions.
Las pautas a seguir en los estados contiguos de Nueva York. Los estados que están contiguos son eximidos de la cuarentena de 14 días. Las nuevas pautas a seguir serían que tendrían que hacerse la prueba 3 días antes de viajar a Nueva York, y una vez al llegar a Nueva York tienen que entrar en cuarentena por 3 días y hacerse la prueba otra vez al 4º día. Si ambos resultados de las pruebas salen negativos, entonces no tienen que quedarse en cuarentena ya por los 14 días. Pero el Departamento de Salud tienen que validar los resultados de las pruebas, y si salieran positivos, entonces ellos ¿verdad? Le dan las recomendaciones a los pasos a seguir para chequear a ver, ¿verdad? Los últimos 48, las últimas 48 horas de donde habían viajado los viajeros, para comunicarse con las personas con que, ¿verdad? Con que ellos pudieran haber estado en contacto así, para evitar el contagio, que se contagien más personas. ¿Qué más? También pero también tienen que seguir llenando el formulario de salud de viajero. Toda persona tiene que llenarlo, y también eso aplica para el viajero internacional.
Thank you, Anna. Barbara, do we want to take questions on this?
Yes, we can certainly do that. And actually, we could also have taken questions on the building things also, because we do questions for topics during work session, but it did not sound like there was anybody there then. But yes, if anybody has a question at this time, please call the number that LTV has on the screen.
Barbara will be getting a letter out to the community, and Barbara will translate, Anna will translate it for our community. So that will go out tomorrow in an email with this guidance.
Matt, is anybody calling in at this time?
We have 0 callers, Barbara. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for checking. Does any of the board members have any questions right now about the COVID?
I would like to give a shout out to our PTA, Barbara.
You beat me to it. Great.
Our PTA and our community came together last night to do a spectacular light show for our students, but also for our community. I saw a lot of community members driving through that had no children in their cars last night. I just want to thank the PTA, all the community members that came out, the Kiwanis Club. It was just a spectacular night. It was 2 hours of just pure joy, seeing the kids' faces, seeing our junior high kids dance in the parking lot. It was just a great night. It really was. There'll be some pictures on the website for everybody to see. And I just want to thank everybody. I want to wish our community the safest, healthiest, happiest season ever. Everybody deserves it. They really do. Everybody's worked really hard, our parents, our students, our staff. So I just want everybody to take the next week and just really enjoy their time with their families.
Yeah. Thank you, Deb. And our PTA has really been doing a great job in keeping up with engagement and really looking out for our kids and making sure that they're missing out on as little as possible with all their efforts. So a big thank you to the Spring School PTA.
I'd second that. Yeah, they've done a great job. I feel bad I missed it last night. My daughter was able to go, but I heard it was great. So they're doing a great job.
I was there, and it was just a great way to end Sunday evening with the Springs Fire Parade on Saturday around Clearwater was great, and then to go Sunday to participate with that was great. So just wish everybody a great, safe, happy holidays.
Yes, Springs Fire Department came back out again last night.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
they
you,
did.
Springs
They were
Fire.
there.
They were there as well.
It's great.
Matt, just checking back in case anybody has called in.
We have 0 callers, Barbara. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
I think Pat wanted to say something, Barbara.
What's that?
Pat.
Oh.
No, I didn't.
No?
All right. Well, yes. So happy holidays to everybody. We will be reconvening in January. We'll certainly have plenty to talk about then. We will, as Deb said, be sending out a letter to our parents tomorrow. And then again, a reminder as school reopens in January. And then our next meeting is January
11th.
January 11th, which will be a regular board meeting. And it looks like we do not actually have a work session going on in January, but soon after that, we will start having plenty of meetings with budget hearings.
I can't wait for the budget season to start, Mike.
So if there are no additional questions from the board, those are the only topics on our agenda. I think we can safely call.
May
this meeting is finished, right?
I add one more thing to the meeting?
Sure.
On behalf of LTV, I would like to wish everybody on the board happy holidays and a great new year.
Oh, thank you so much, Matt. Happy
Thanks, Matt.
holidays and Happy New Year to everyone there.
You
at
too, Matt.
too.
Thanks, Matt.
You're very
This
welcome.
has certainly been functioning a little better than
Yes.
than some of our other remote meetings. So you guys are doing a great job there.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
And on that note, do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening and happy holidays again.
Everybody
Thanks,
have a
you
good day.
too.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Happy holidays.
Right.
everyone.